The Buddha mentioned that there's a quality that people have if they encounter this Dhamma, and if they experience the transformation. If they experience the personal transformation as a result of opening up a different way of seeing, because they have encountered this teaching and have at least indirectly through the teaching and through hearing the stories, they have met the Buddha. And then with that, if they practice consistently, if they listen, if they develop wise reflection or wise application of the mind, listening, taking in these beautiful teachings, allowing those teachings to sink into our heart through our lived experience. And then comes the transforming insight, the opening of the Dhamma eye. This has already happened in part for some of us, and is definitely possible for all of us. I think that all of us here, this opening of the Dhamma eye is a possibility. And with that comes the quality of confidence, trust. It's sometimes translated as faith, but it doesn't mean like a blind faith, like you have to sign a contract that you agree to believe in certain things in order to be a member of the club. It's not anything like that. It's rather that because of some kind of a direct experience and testing these teachings and these teachers to find the goodness and what's healing and beneficial to us, and consistently good, consistently safe, not dangerous, not some kind of addiction, not some kind of a cult, but rather something that empowers us to have our own dignity and our own capacity for using our own minds to see clearly, to investigate. So we don't lose our independence when we acquire this trust in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Instead, we have an addition of courage and happiness because of having that trust. So having said that little bit, I'd like to invite us to sit for meditation for a while, following the beautiful, simple teachings that were given to us and which have been followed by people over so many thousands of years. Coming to an upright and balanced posture. Aware of the space where we're sitting, the room that we're sitting, or if we're outdoors, aware of the earth and the sky. Aware of our own bodies in the sitting posture within this space. Feeling our contact with the chair or the cushion, feeling our feet on the ground. That's the connection to the earth element. Aware of the solidity of the body and the strength of the skeleton holding us upright. Also the earth element. Aware of the temperature of the body and the temperature of the air touching the skin. The heat element. Aware of anything that's wet or juicy inside the body. That's the water element. And aware of the water outside, in the clouds, in the rivers, in the sea. The glass of water. All water element. There's a bowl of perfumed water with flower petals that is going to bathe the baby Buddha a little bit while. That's the water element, bathing the baby Buddha, washing the Buddha within us. Just water element. And aware of the air element. The breath coming in and out. The breeze outside. The moving energy inside and outside. directing awareness to those material elements. We connect with something which is true and which is real. Letting the fabricating mind have a rest, doing nothing except resting awareness on the material elements. If the breath is noticeable, and settle the mind on the movement of breath. One can notice the space element as the lungs open, the air moving into that space. And with the exhalation, the air going into the great space outside. Feeling space inside and space outside. letting the self disappear into universal elements. Earth is just earth. Water is just water. Fire is just fire. Air is just air. Space is just space. Just noticing what is solid, what is liquid, what is warm, what is moving, what is empty. If awareness is well connected, noticing what it's like, the feeling tone, how the mind is when it's connected to the elements. But if the mind wanders into thinking, aware of that feeling tone, what it's like when the mind wanders into thinking, the state of mind. And when awareness comes back to connect with the elements, aware of what that's like, how it feels, what the mind is like when it's connected. aware of the movement of breath. Aware of all the elements inside and outside. Aware of the posture of the body connected to the seat or the cushion. Aware of this body situated within this space, within this room, within this earth. And gently, when you're ready, coming out of the meditation.
Can anybody hear anything? I can't hear anything.
Oh, could not hear the
I can hear.
Okay.
I can't hear a lot, but I heard that.
I can't hear too much either, except for you guys.
systems display antics.
No, it's the same. I am.
It's funny, we could hear you guiding the meditation the entire time. I could hear the meditation clearly, but then once the meditation quit, I can't hear.
Me too.
Same here.
If Cynthia would like to give her question, can you hear my voice?
Very good now.
Cynthia, please give your question and I will repeat your question for the benefit of the online audience.
Oh,
First, I just wanted to relate to the last question, and that is that I fell asleep in an MRI. I've had many of them, but I have fallen asleep in an MRI. The reason I am speaking is because, you know, of course I trust the Buddha. Of course I trust the Dhamma. However, there was a reading, and I don't know the name of the reading. It was the other day it was shared, and in the reading, a woman was murdered and left in a gully. And it was supposed to be blamed on the bhikkhus. And there were some other, you know, people who had done that, and the moral of the story was, don't worry that you're being blamed, bhikkhus, because it will go away. Give it a week and people won't talk about it anymore. And my concern is that it did not seem concerned about the woman being murdered. So being a woman, there are some issues that arise in having a male teacher. So I just wanted to be honest about that.
What a wonderful comment. It's so true and so meaningful. Even in the Buddha's time, there is, I believe, the story of the teaching that was given to a lay disciple called Anathapindika, where he was finally taught the Anapanasati Sutta, the full sutta, after he had been a disciple for a long time. And the other bhikkhus didn't think he was capable of of getting the gain from that sutta, so they didn't give that teaching. And then he said, I'm old, I'm close to death. Why did you wait so long to give me this teaching? So they don't always know. This is supposed to be a characteristic of the Buddha, of being able to intuitively know people's mind and what would be helpful and beneficial for them, and to give them the suitable teaching from where they're at. And an aspect of the Buddha's compassion to be able to have a Dhamma teaching that works on many different levels. Our culture has gone so far away from the culture of the Dhamma. We even need to be careful. There are things that are, to me, like deeply held truths of the Dhamma, which if I said them carelessly to anybody, they might say, you have no right to say that. I'm insulted that you would say that. Who gives you the, who do you think you are saying such a thing to me? And, but if to speak carelessly in a way that arouses distress or hurt or a harm, that could drive somebody away from being willing to listen to this Dhamma. And what would be the impact of that? They could become disappointed with Buddhism. They could become an atheist, or they could become, I know we're atheists, they could become just a secular worldly person without any spiritual aspirations. And then they could die in that state, and they could, go on to spend eons in difficulty, because they had a chance. They came so close to a chance to hear, take it on board, and be like willing. It is sort of like taking on this teaching in a way is like jumping off a cliff. You give up your own ego. And that's scary to do. So there has to be a certain amount of trust. And if somebody had the chance, but they didn't take that chance because some bhikkhu or some bhikkhuni somewhere was unskillful, it's a very significant burden, and something that we keep in our mind all the time, that we've got to be as good as we can be. And then we've got to be like culturally sensitive to try to understand what people are able to hear. Even the Dalai Lama has said things that were, from a Dhamma perspective, perfectly normal, but then the politically correct world gets into an uproar about, something that was said that's not matching with the understood values of this time. When I felt disappointed with my bhikkhu and bhikkhuni teachers, I always found comfort by returning to reading and reflecting in the suttas. And there's something like going to the timeless Buddha, which is beyond any individual personality. And also knowing that the Sangha, in that wide sense of the community, a living people who are trying to give something to each other to enable help and support one another, is so important and so vital. If each person was just alone with a book, it would be difficult for the Dhamma to survive. So we've got to have the Sangha, but I really, it's really important that to understand that if the ordained monastics doesn't take care, they could create a misunderstanding and create disappointment like that. Yeah. Okay, Ashila.
Good morning, Ayya. Good morning, everyone. I had an experience this morning that the Dhamma just kind of washed over me. I drove from Stockton. Will probably know that I come out Highway 12, which is, and has historically been a dangerous roadway. And at some point, someone driving a car became very impatient with the cars in front of him. And he or she made a really dangerous maneuver, crossed double lines, and probably at 80 or 90 miles an hour zoomed past into oncoming traffic to get ahead of the traffic in front. And in that moment, I had a lot of compassion for that person and said, I hope you get where you're going and that others who encounter you also. And I also understood in that moment what it means for the phrasing and the teachings of us, of we being, others being, feeling safe around us. And that there's the reciprocity of people feeling safe around each other. And I said, I don't feel safe around that person. And what would it be like to know that person who would do such a thing? And I just kind of sat with that, but I reflected on me, others feeling safe around me, and making sure that I, in everything I do, embody that.
Mhm.
Thank you.
For the sake of the internet audience, I'll summarize. Sheila was speaking about encountering a very dangerous driver on the road who was really creating unsafe circumstances for the passengers, and how luckily, because of this practice and this training, the thought did arise for her. May that person get where they're going. May they avoid any danger or any injury. And then like a reflection about how to be safe when being in the presence of people who are actually dangerous, in the sense that a dangerous car driving on the wrong side of the road at a high speed is a danger. I think my answer, it's almost embodied in Sheila's comment, and that is that when the thing that comes up is not the thought of ill will or resentment, but when the thought that comes up is the thought of compassion, actually that habit of the mind is giving the most important kind of safety, that it's protecting us from bringing out any kind of unwholesome negative karma that could result in harm to ourselves because of our own bad intentions of undertaking some kind of actions that are based on resentment or hatred or fear. But to whatever extent we're able to keep the mind actually, so you could say even inspired by the compassion of the Buddha, so that compassion is the dominating thought, that then keeping the mind within that bubble of compassion is keeping the mind in its own safe place. And so even if you were in a car crash and wound up not just having an MRI, but having years in the hospital or years of disability, or, who knows what kind of life consequence could be from a physical injury like that, at least you protected yourself from doing an evil, unwholesome, and hurtful action. And that's a very important kind of safety. And having the confidence in that can make us feel like we're no need to be disturbed, agitated, upset, and distressed when we meet everything in the world which is so far away from perfection. We're coming up to 10 o'clock, and I would like to see if there's somebody that was waiting that still wants to ask one question. Okay, Maitri.
Thank you, Ayya. I want to kind of give a slightly different aspect of related to the question that you asked. Do you trust the Buddha? I believe that this is so much related to one's practice also, and for me personally, I can say that I was born a Buddhist. Was raised in a Buddhist culture all my life. But last several years, I've started really getting into the practice a little bit. And especially probably in the last year, 8 months, I've started working with the thoughts that come into my mind sometimes, not all the time, but whenever I can be mindful about whether these are wholesome thoughts, whether they are beneficial to me or others. And sometimes they're not, and then I want to shake them away, like leave them alone. It's very hard. You're so they're they've kind of engulfed you, and they're so hard, and sometimes you can, sometimes it's very difficult to shake them away. And when you start working with it and keep working at it, you feel how hard this is. And then you realize this is what the Buddha did. That this was the way that he became the Buddha. Yeah, and you see that it's such an extraordinary thing to do.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you so much for that report and how significant it is. How many years did we spend when we wanted to tame the mind, but we didn't yet know how? When we were not able to shake away an unbeneficial thought that came along. But then as we continued patiently listening and following and reflecting with his teachings, from time to time, we had a moment of success. And I don't know about you, but I can remember some of the outstanding times when I was a very new into really making the effort with this practice, when some kind of negativity was arising and was able to really disappear. And it's like, oh, this is a miracle. I don't need to be a victim of these bad thoughts. They're able to disappear, and I'm able to choose the causes and conditions that support those negativities to go to disappear. This teaching works. It's not just a concept. It's something that each one of us is able to do. And so I think your question has given us a very inspiring thought to close with. So I'd like to invite everybody to join in giving respect to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha.